thank you. Thank you for agreeing to be part of this interview today. I met Nicole a couple of years ago at a summer school at Oxford University, where we had a bit of a discussion about marketing. How long was that? Was it like 3 or 4 years ago?
Yeah, 2017. So.
2017. Yeah, when there was no pandemic and no one was wearing face covering and all that. But anyways, Nicole, I met Nicole back at Oxford, and since then she has built a very interesting career in marketing, which is why I invited her to join me in this mini series where I discuss what marketers do. So thank you again, Nicole. Why don't we start by kind of you telling us like what happened after you graduated from UMass and how did you end up in marketing?
Yeah, of course. So for reference, I graduated in 2020. So at the height of the pandemic, everything was fully remote, completely online. So applying to jobs was kind of tricky. Nobody was really hiring. It took me a bit, but I was able to actually apply for a marketing intern position. However, through interviews, we turned that into a full-time role. So that's how I landed the role at Solvus Global, and I have been there ever since. Came in as marketing manager, figured, that title held some weight, just me in the marketing department. Since then, we've started to grow, but I guess something that's unique is that I, really only took that one introduction to marketing class with you back in 2017. I was a psychology major in school, went back after England and picked up communications. So I figured, that would play a role into what I wanted to do next. I actually did a second study abroad trip in Sydney, Australia, where I earned a global business certificate. And so that's where I also, went further into marketing with some international marketing courses, kind of the organizational side of things. And then, that qualified me to go on into marketing. But yeah. Anything.
That's good. And indeed, I mean, I always tell students that marketing is a bit like applied psychology anyways, right? Because it's a lot of kind of consumer behavior and understanding what drives people to do the things that they do, right? In a kind of business context. I didn't know you went to Australia. Where did you go?
Yeah, so I was in Sydney primarily. That's where the program was. And it was a really great accelerated course. I had an internship for project management, so definitely gave me some hands-on experience. But yeah, I agree. The psychology really helps me, cater to those different audiences. So yeah.
Great. Now, tell us more about Solvus Global. What do they do? What do they sell? Yeah. Tell us more about the company.
At Solvus Global, we are very unique. Our tagline, we're a technology solution provider for materials and manufacturing, specializing in the areas of additive manufacturing, machine learning, sustainable materials processing. We like to say, we solve real world problems. We were a startup, I think also 2017, so about 5 years ago. We're very centered around material science, software, artificial intelligence, and a lot of research and development definitely goes on at our facilities. So a couple different, the way we're broken out, so Solvus Global is kind of this large umbrella, and then we've got different what we call our spin-out companies, or just, business units, different brands. So we've got like software for scrap metal recycling. We've got software for what's called cold spray technology. And we have just a variety of other specialized manufacturing processes. You can also apply cold spray to like lithium-ion battery creation. There's a couple different processes like wire arc, additive manufacturing, friction stir, welding, just kind of the ability to create large metal parts, so like your pipes, your rods. And then also we create these metal powders that are used within the processes. So different custom blends of aluminums, coppers, very material science based. Something I'm, not as strong in, but I've definitely been learning the past couple of years here.
Yeah, it sounds very, very technical indeed, and very kind of uh, scientific, right, in terms of all the products that they do. And I I thought about inviting you actually to this series because I imagine the customers in this case are other organizations, right? Which is a
Yeah.
bit different when you are doing like B2C, which is what most of marketing
Mhm.
uh, usually is associated
The
with.
fun
But
part of
indeed, yeah,
marketing.
but well, I wouldn't say proper marketing, but it's usually associated with that, like big brands like Coca-Cola selling to consumers, or kind of TikTok doing stuff again with users. But there is a huge industry of companies selling to other companies, which is the industry that you're in. So tell us more about like what an average day looks like. I imagine you're working today. So what is it? Is it like a lot of meetings? What do you do?
No, so actually, because we're a small startup, meetings are kind of a thing of the past in a way. Doesn't really, go well over with efficiency. And as far as like,
I'm so old school then when we have
yeah,
meetings. Okay,
yeah,
tell me what the future is then in the startup
yeah.
environment.
So it's all about getting your work done. So I'll just a quick snapshot of like all of the things, that I've done here at Solvus within marketing. So especially the B2B marketing, selling to another business, right? It's a lot less kind of advertisement generally, but a lot more kind of newsletters, slide decks, presentations to those other businesses, right? You're going to have pitches, website SEO. That's becoming such a huge thing. And really like that content online is very key for selling to another business. Social media posts, so not in the TikTok, Instagram sense, but more so on like the LinkedIn side of things, where our market really is. We actually do a fair bit on like scheduling of like VIP appearances, speaking opportunities, kind of different panels, um, things that will get us noticed by other businesses, kind of where they are, whether it's at trade shows, conferences, events. And then we also need the marketing materials to go to those events and hand things out, have things available when someone emails you and they're looking for further info. Can I have that info packet? I've got to have one ready. But yeah, so I mean, email marketing, social media, public relations. We've done a couple different like product launches for our software companies. Partner marketing is huge. We've definitely done different media partners, and then a lot of very event based, which I was kind of surprised by going in. That it's definitely getting all the businesses and the top CEOs in the room is really important for us to convey our ideas over to them.
Why were you surprised by going to these events? Like, what were you expecting them to be, and how do they? Is it like like trade conferences and things like that, or
Yes. Yes. So I'm not surprised on attending them. Actually, the amount that we are hosting is quite a bit. So we do a lot of facility tours. I think it's mainly, as we're that growing organization, people want to come in and see what we're up to, see what new machinery we've got going on. And I think that's the piece that I wasn't aware of is that how often we be hosting.
Yeah, yeah. So a lot of kind of social skills as well, right? And interacting with potential customers. It's something part of it. How about um, kind of the life cycle of kind of selling a product? Like when I don't know, you meet a potential customer either at these events or they write on your website. Do you like what's the timelines that it normally takes from that point of view when they have like an inquiry or something to actually buying something? Is
Yeah.
it like, can it be months? I imagine because it's quite technical and some of those budgets are quite high. It takes some time and different stakeholders as well that need to be involved in the decision making process.
Yeah, yeah. So a couple different scenarios because we have the different brands. So for instance, the powder that we make, we're actually selling that online. So different businesses can do repeat orders. They can just add to cart and click and have it shipped out like within the week. Um, And so from that point of view, that's, very quick and easy on the whole, marketing selling front. But then we do offer the custom blends. And so that, we identify, what's your problem that you're trying to, solve. So that's whether it's like corrosion or like a structural issue that they're kind of, putting this metal powder onto. So we identify, their problem, what solutions that we have, or, if we need to create an entirely new solution, a lot of different testing will go into that. But depending, how long they want, do they need it, how fast. So that's on the powder side. On a couple of the other different sides, so the what's called the large scale additive. So we are actually trying to create, the fastest parts possible. With the fastest turnaround times, because right now it's traditional, like casting and molding is what they're using. But with this, you can, change your tool path so that it's ready within 24 hours. You can't make a lot of them, but you can, make enough and get them out very quickly. So that's definitely the advantage there. On some other different fronts, when you meet a potential, I guess, customer and or partner, a lot of times we'll apply for like small business innovation research grants. And so that'll take years. We've got like a 2025 like deadline, and so then we'll have different checkpoints along the way. But so that's not quite in the like direct selling way, but that's kind of creating the product to eventually be sold.
Yeah. So yeah, different. Yeah, you mentioned different kind of product categories and different timelines as well. You also mentioned that you're involving, or I don't know, like part of the marketing role involves like SEO, a bit of content, and creating like assets. Is this all done like in-house within Solvus, or do you work with like third-party agencies that help you with these things?
Yeah, so where we're at right now, all in-house. I think we have, advantage on our side. We have a lot of software engineers who know what they're doing and code up our website really nicely. So we haven't had the need to go out for an external marketing agency, but definitely something as, we scale and we grow to look toward the future. Is definitely something we can embark in.
Great. How about now? I want to discuss like since you're in the B2B industry, like what do you see as kind of some of the trends in terms of tools that kind of B2B marketers are using nowadays? Can you expand on that a bit more?
Yeah, so I mean, there's definitely a lot of great educational resources out there. I really like, I think HubSpot had been doing a couple fireside chats earlier this year. And I think hearing other stories from other top executives in the marketing world is really a good way to kind of apply to your own business, maybe tweak it to match, the audience. But it's definitely easier to stay on top of like the B2C trends because they're so in your face as you're shopping online, watching different videos. But really, we've kind of seen what works for us so far, like as the events and the trade shows and conferences go, right? So you can see others there and you're like, oh, wow, I really enjoyed, their banner or their marketing materials or their demo video. It's difficult. Our audience, right, isn't on that traditional social media, but we are actually kind of thinking, maybe considering like YouTube Shorts, something for that more technical audience to see, how that turns out.
Yeah, and you mentioned HubSpot. Do you use HubSpot as a CRM, or was it more like because you like HubSpot?
Yeah. Well, I do like HubSpot. I think they actually have their inbound marketing conference right in Boston. So that's really a good one. But yeah, so CRM, they actually have a HubSpot special to startups. So it's perfect on kind of tracking, who's coming in and coming out, sending out their email campaigns, things like that.
And now you have mentioned several times like email campaigns.
Yeah.
And can you elaborate a bit more about how do you approach like personalizing like different campaigns? Because I imagine you have like a database of existing customers and also like leads. Like how is only if you're involved in that process. If not, you can say, well, actually, this is what I think they do, and that's it. We can change topic. But yeah, can you elaborate a bit more on that?
Yeah, I definitely can. So with the email marketing, we're actually on MailChimp as well. And so we can see, like your click paths. We can see, how many times you've opened it, what time you opened it at. So we can send it out at the exact time. We have this, I think it's called like the time travel. So we do have quite a global audience. So we've got some as well in Australia. That's a coincidence. But Canada, everywhere in between, UK, Germany, Italy, France, all the places. So sending it out, right, 4 p.m. your time, not 4 p.m. our time, is definitely a huge thing. But then also we do, since we do a lot of the event-based marketing, those are typically the e-blasts, the campaigns that I'll send out. So like tracking links, that's really huge to see who's looking, at our ticket purchasing website and what did they click, did they view, did they purchase, things like that. I really enjoy, and it's really nice to have, right, that entire list, that profile on you, so I can find out, you're a 5-star rated email opener. You might be interested in the sponsorship. We might invite you to speak at the event, things like that.
Cool. That sounds very, very, very interesting. Here's a question I didn't actually mention to you before, but it made me think of I mean, possibly you have heard about all this ChatGPT thing, right? And what it can produce. Have you had a look at it? Have you kind of given a try exploring how this could be used in marketing?
Yeah. I think it's definitely interesting. I actually did mention that we were looking at some photos we took, and I was like, wow, I wish we had grabbed some more photos. And I'm like, maybe if we put it, into the ChatGPT software, like, and asked it to create some more. I know people have been using it for headshots and more professional photos. So I'm like, we could try, but it is the thing that we are very technical, so I think it wouldn't quite recognize what it's looking at. But I think as far as,
I mean, it needs to actually look like the actual thing. It cannot just take like creative liberties, right?
Because like a robot in the sunset, I'm not sure. But I think as far as marketing copy goes, like that, I'm definitely going to need to start looking at that for, website copy, LinkedIn copy, things like that. That would actually, help us to produce more posts, more content, because that really is, that first touch point that someone might get in the door.
Yeah. No, it's definitely. I mean, I think a previous interview I also asked this question about ChatGPT and how they were using it, and it deviated a bit. But all this, because you mentioned as well that you do a bit of kind of artificial intelligence and all these kind of things. I thought it could also be down your alley.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you think you will carry on being in B2B marketing? Is it like a career path that you want to follow?
I'm not sure. I definitely really enjoy kind of the new things that it's taught me, right? Because you can see B2B or B2C marketing out there. You're the consumer that they're marketing to. So it's definitely different. So it's kind of stretching my skills some more.
Yeah.
But we'll see where it takes me. It's definitely really great to be a part of like the startup community, because it is very, very small, and watching, the company grow, right? So we started, I think there was maybe 30 of us. We're just about at 60 right now. So that too, on the marketing front, as we're a growing company and we're trying to scale, marketing to potential talent, potential employees, candidates, applicants. That is my B2C, I suppose.
Yeah.
Conveying that over to them.
Yeah, definitely. And then a final question that actually you mentioned startup, and that you're operating within this startup ecosystem. What would be your advice for like a recent graduate if they wanted to kind of join a startup? Like, what do you think startups want in terms of a like fresh marketing intern as you were a couple of years ago? Like, now that you're a manager, like what would you say is important skills or knowledge or profile of a recent graduate joining a startup?
Yeah, so I think that, I said this before, but being able to solve a problem, that's really something we look for in any of our candidates, because a lot of what we do is very technical, but then we also do have like production technicians and other machinists. So somebody who didn't study material science, but as long as they can solve a problem, they're kind of hired. I think that's kind of goes across the whole like entrepreneurial ecosystem is that will and that drive to make things work and see the finish line ahead and kind of connect the dots along the way so that you can have success follow. But I think as far as advice, I would say just kind of not be afraid. I think a lot of people think startup and they're like, that's not for me, because you definitely do kind of need to work maybe a little bit harder, and it's not the same thing every day. So that you're changing courses based off of like feedback that you've been getting, whereas a larger corporation seems to be more stagnant, and kind of doing what works and what has worked. But I think with startups, you gotta like change gears at the drop of a hat. So I think it's definitely a fast pace as well for that.
So not for the fainted-hearted then. The heart,
Yeah.
if Excellent. Well, Nicole, it was very interesting to have the discussion today with you. Thank you for providing us with a peek into how B2B marketing looks like, and particularly in the US. And yeah, it's good to see how your career has been progressing, and I'm looking forward as well to see, I don't know, in 5 years' time, where will you be?
Thank you, Rodrigo, for inviting me onto this marketing series. It's been great.
Thank you. I'll stop the recording.